Hey guys, I'm here to do another budget deck profile. This is probably going to be the most budget deck that I'm going to cover, just because how cheap it is, and that is S-Force. But before we get started today, I wanted to say thank you for everybody that watched the last binder collection / giveaway video. We ended up getting 15 likes, which is the most I've ever gotten on a single video, I'm pretty sure. Which is just amazing. And then we also went from, I think, 65 subscribers to 72 in one day, which is a pretty good milestone as well. So thanks for watching and participating. I did want to point out, however, I thought it was pretty funny that someone, I guess, trolled me and disliked the video, which is funny because the directions say if you want to enter the giveaway, you have to hit the like button. So I don't know, maybe they weren't trolling me, maybe they just didn't like the video, but did think that was pretty funny. I guess the other thing is too, I wanted to go ahead and update you that I'll do the announcement of the winner tomorrow in a market watch video. So stay tuned for that. And also, I think I posted a comment on a video, I guess, earlier this week, asking if people would want to do like a live stream market watch where I'll go over some cards that I choose, and then you can also tell me cards that you want to look at and talk about. And I'm thinking, since some people said, yeah, they would like to do that, maybe we could do that next week or the coming week. But just let me know in the comment sections when you're usually off work or would be available, so I can kind of gauge. I'm guessing probably like it would be around 7 or 8 p.m. on a weekday, but and that's Eastern Standard Time. So I guess it is kind of weird when you're dealing with international viewers trying to get a time that works. But I'm thinking like maybe next Wednesday at like 8 or 8:30 p.m. like EST. But let me know. So we can go ahead and get into the S-Force deck profile. I do have the physical deck, but there are a few cards that I'm missing. But for the purposes, I do like playing with the physical cards to show the combos. So I have everything I need to show the combo. I have most of the deck. I'm like at, I think like 35 out of 40 main deck cards. I think the only thing I'm really missing is one living fossil. I have one, but I need another one. And then I also don't have extravagance yet. But if you didn't see the Alba Strike deck spoilers, extravagance will be coming as a common in that set, so we'll greatly reduce the price of getting a play set of those. I didn't want to spend $15 to $20 for a secret rare, so hopefully when that gets released, I'll either get the common for a couple bucks or get the secret rare for, you know, $5 $6. At least that's the plan. So yeah, I'm gonna wait until that structure deck comes out, and then I'll pick up extravagance. But anyways, I'll go over the deck profile on here, and then we can move to the actual combo that, at least a couple combos that I know. So starting out, we have S-Force Platina, 2 copies, a playset of S-Force Gravitino, 3 copies of S-Force Rappa Kiyomaro, 2 copies of S-Force Showdown, 3 copies of S-Force Bridgehead, 1 copy of Reinforcement of the Army, 1 copy of Terraforming, 3 copies of S-Force Edge Razor, 3 copies of S-Force Chase, 3 copies of Dimension Shifter, 2 copies of Infinite Impermanence, 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance, 1 Immortal Phoenix Scarefreed, 2 Living Fossil, 1 Divine Sword Phoenix Blade, 3 Neospace Connector, 1 Neospatian Aqua Dolphin, and 3 Regeki. So if you're looking at these, so there are 2 secret rares that are at S-Force cards, but they're under $1. That's Chiamaro and Bridgehead. They're both like 75 cents. And then everything else, S-Force is under 50 cents. I think even the trap is like 75 cents and it's ultra rare, which is an insane card really. But for the most part, like the actual S-Force cards, you could probably get the whole deck core for under $10, which is really, really good. We'll say under $10 to $15 because you have to pay shipping, of course. But really the only expensive card you're playing in here is Dimension Shifter, which is around $9 a piece. And you could opt to play a different hand trap, like Ghost Ogre or something else if you want to. This is just kind of a blowout card. You could also play something like, I guess, Artifact Lancia if you wanted to. But the reason I like this card better is because it just straight up banishes cards, and a lot of people rely on their graveyard as their second hand. So if you can get this card off, it's really, really going to help set you up in a good position for the game. So you're looking at around $25 to $30 for a playset of these. And then imperms are at $10 a piece. And then extravagance, like I said, I would honestly maybe start, if you wanted to play this deck, start picking up these cards and then wait for these to get printed in the structure deck. And that'll take the cost of this deck down quite a bit. And then you have one Gearfried, which is around $9 to $12. And Living Fossils you can get as commons if you want. Same with Divine Sword, so pretty cheap. All of these are really cheap. Regekis maybe $1, like maybe $2 a piece. So I think all in all, if you're going to be playing the Dimension Shifters and everything else, assuming you're waiting for Extravagance to get reprinted, you're looking at about 50, 60. We'll say that these are on $5 to 65. Say a playset of these is $5, around 70. And then assume that the rest, so the main deck is looking to be around $80 to $85, which is really, really good. Now for the extra deck, one thing I will mention, we're playing Extravagance, and this deck doesn't really need its extra deck too much. It's not going to matter what you really banish. So like the important cards I'm playing 3 of, like S-Force Justify is like really the only monster you're consistently going into, besides, I guess the other one would be the Sold. But yeah, I mean, you could also choose to play Access Code Talker in here, but I think that takes it out of the budget range. But some of these cards like Transcode Talker and Splash Mage, I mean, I just you put any card that you want in here. These aren't necessarily the best. I would maybe play more copies of Phoenix or Unicorn. I just basically put these in here as filler, but feel free to play whatever you want in here. I think the only cards that you have to play is 3 Justify, maybe 2 Boral Sword, and then maybe 2 or 3 is Sold, and then everything else is optional. I guess I would stay link based, but completely up to you with what you want to play. And then as far as the extra deck, I mean, not the extra deck, the side deck, sorry. I just threw in like Dark Rulers, generic good stuff. Skill Drain, you could play Skill Drain in this deck if you're kind of staying away from doing your S-Force Justify plays, because you do have a lot of beat sticks that you can get out. But the problem with Skill Drain is you still need your monster effects, really. So I kind of changed my mind. It's not really the best deck to play Skill Drain in. I just really don't think so, because you kind of can't put enough big monsters on board that you're just okay with not having monster effects. You need follow-up plays. So I would probably actually just take these out. I put 2 copies of S-Force Retroactive in here. If you don't know what this card does, it's a lot like Altergeist Pickery, where it's basically if you were to link summon a S-Force monster, you can use this card in your hand. So if you wanted to go the route of guaranteeing your Justify or summoning Justify, then you could add these into your deck and maybe cut something else out. Completely up to you. I've tried this card, it's decent, but I think really the main focus of this deck is getting out your Gravitino and putting as many S-Force monsters on board and different zones so that you can use your S-Force Chase and banish their monsters. Whereas if you just go into Justify, you're not getting to banish monsters because you need Gravitino on board to get the banish effect. Otherwise, it's just going to pop it back to the hand or extra deck. And you only get 1 pop. So usually in my opening turn, I don't go into Justify. That's usually a little bit later that I'll go into Justify. But with that aside, we can go ahead and switch to my desk. I don't know why I'm blanking camera, but oops, I don't know why I did that. 1 second, guys. All right, let's stop screen share that, I hope. Let's go here. Oh, and I did go out in my car and get the play mat, so that will help with zones and stuff. But basically, I mean, it's going to be the same setup as we just went over. I don't think I'm playing anything different in here, really, just missing a few cards. Also, the extra deck is not complete because I don't have extravagance. So, like, since I don't have extravagance right now, I just figured I would just put in like some of the core cards that you need, like Isolde and S-Force Justify. I do have most of those cards that are in the extra deck. I just don't want to pull them out of other decks since I won't really be going into them. Because you're not going to be setting up Boral Sword or anything like that on your first turn, because that's just really not your focus. But oh yeah, and so for the extra deck too, I forgot to go over price. If you stay like away from Access Code Talker, you can build the extra deck for, I think, under $30, with a total deck price of under, we'll say under 150, but I think it could even be under 125. But so basically, I'll kind of, before we go into the combo, I'll kind of talk about just general strategy and basically what you need to open to combo. So basically, you really need your Chiyomaru, and you have a couple ways of getting there. You have your S-Force Bridgehead, which it's a field spell. So whenever you activate your Bridgehead, you can add 1 S-Force monster to your hand, which is going to be your Chiyomaru. But other than that, there's another really good combo in here to get to it that's actually I think is even better. What you do is you need to start with your Neo Space Connector, and you're going to basically special summon your S-Force Chiyomaru with your Isolde. So what we're going to do is I'm going to actually show you the Neo Space Connector combo first, and then we'll just show the generic combo with S-Force Chiyomaru. And all you need is your Neo Space Connector, but for the sake of this, we're just gonna have a couple of cards in hand that potentially just discard if you need to. I can't remember if you need to discard. I'm not very good at remembering every single thing about a deck, but I am good at remembering the combos of what the deck generally wants to do. But I also do play a lot of decks, so it is hard to be extremely knowledgeable about all of them. But basically, you're going to start off with a normal summon of your Neo Space Connector. And then you're going to activate its effect to special summon your Neospatian Aqua Dolphin. From here, and I recommend that you do this, if they didn't ash this, which they probably will, to be honest, if they have Ash Blossom, you can activate the Neospatian Aqua Dolphin effect, which, if you don't know, is once per turn. By discarding 1 card, look at your opponent's hand and select 1 monster card in it. If you control a monster with attack greater than or equal to the attack of that selected monster card, destroy that targeted card and then inflict 500 damage to your opponent. Otherwise, take 500 damage. So the reason why I don't always activate this effect is because you do have to pay cost of discarding. And the highest attack that you have is 800. So really, that just leaves the Ghost Girls in effect failure. And it's up to you if you think it's worth it to discard a card for that. But it doesn't really matter. It's not really going to affect the combo, but I'm just throwing that out there that is an option if you want to pursue it. From here, you're going to link summon into Isolde. Then you're going to activate its effect to add 1 warrior monster from your deck to your hand. And then basically on this effect, what you're going to do is add your Immortal Phoenix Gearfried. You can't use it this turn, but it is a very good follow-up play to have for the next turn. And then from this point, you're going to activate the secondary effect to send any number of equipped spells with different names from your deck to the graveyard to special summon one warrior monster with a level equal to that many cards. So from here, you want to send a Living Fossil and a Divine Sword Phoenix Blade. I think they have to have different names actually. So that's why it's, otherwise I would just play 3 Living Fossil. But honestly, that being said, the Divine Sword Phoenix Blade is actually pretty good, and I'll show you why when we get to Immortal Phoenix Gearfried on the next turn. But moving on, since you sent 2, you're going to special summon your S-Force Rappa Kiamara. Oh, I forgot. This isn't going to work. Just these 2 random cards. And that's my fault. You need to have at least 1 S-Force monster in your hand. And what you want it to be is Gravitino. I don't know why I keep saying it that way. And like I said earlier, you can either have Gravitino or S-Force Bridgehead in your hand. It doesn't matter. S-Force Bridgehead's really good though to have, because you can, whenever your opponent attacks one of your monsters once per turn, you can make sure that you can activate Bridgehead's effect so that your monster is not destroyed, even though you still take damage. But and then the other way you have to get to Bridgehead is terraforming, of course. So you do have 6 ways of, or 7 ways really, of having Gravitino in hand. Oh, so that's pretty good odds of having it. But that's, Gravitino is the only other card that you need in your hand. Like I said, these 2 other cards don't matter. So, all right. Now that we're straight, I'm sorry, I hope that's not too confusing. If you're confused, we're going to run through this again, just a different combo. But hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Sorry about that. From this point, you're going to activate your S-Force Kiamara. You're going to banish 1 S-Force card from your hand. And this is going to get added back to your hand. And then the effect is to special summon S-Force monster from the deck. So we're going to go for Platina. Now when Platina is special summoned, you can special summon a banished S-Force monster. So you're going to special summon back Gravitino. And it's important to note, because where we're going next, you really want to put this underneath your opponent's extra deck monster zone. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But you're going to go ahead and activate Gravitino's effect to search for an S-Force card out of your deck and add it to your hand. We'll be adding S-Force Chase. And now we can go ahead and talk about it. So S-Force Chase is really the best card in your deck. Well, I guess Gravitino is because it searches this, and because of Gravitino's secondary effect, but this is really the focus card in your deck. Basically what it does is when you flip it up on your opponent's turn, you can target cards equal to the amount of S-Force monsters you control and return them to the hand. But with Gravitino on board, it says if any of your opponent's monsters would leave the field and it's in the same column as an S-Force monster, it's banished instead. So basically their extra deck, they have an extra deck monster up here. When you activate S-Force Chase with Gravitino there, it's going to banish their extra deck monster. If you select the extra deck monster, of course, with your S-Force Chase. But we're going to go ahead and set S-Force Chase. And from this point, you can go ahead and pass turn. And another thing that you can also, another tech choice you can play in this deck is Macrocosmos. I have one on the way, and I'm going to try it out. But so far, I did try it out before actually online, and it was pretty good. I just didn't have it with right now. So, but yeah, but it's not that big of a deal because it's only a one of, like, you can only play 1 copy anyways. So it's not like you're going to have that every turn. But really, drawing Dimension Shifter is really the best card you can get for this deck. It goes to their turn. what you would do on their turn is wait until they get monsters out, or it's really about timing because you don't have very many disruptions. You only have the one. So it's unless you have hand traps in hand, of course. We do play a couple of blowout cards like Regeki that you can use on your turn, and Infinite Impermanence and Dimension Shifter. Just make sure if you have Dimension Shifter, you use it before any cards go in the graveyard. That's very important. But anyways, you wait until they're in the important part of their combo, and then you're going to activate your chase and target the monsters or spell cards that you want to get rid of. Important to note, it doesn't matter if their spell cards are in the same column as force monsters. They don't get banished, they get added back to hand. It's only monsters that get banished. And the other cool thing about S-Force Chase as well is if you, like, say the next turn, you're activating an S-Force monster's effect, you can banish the S-Force Chase from grave instead of paying costs for that effect. Like, for example, or only if it's a banishing effect. So say like S-Force, you had S-Force Rappa Chiamaro on your field, and you had to banish an S-Force monster from your hand. Well, for one thing, you might not have one, but you don't have to because you can just banish the S-Force Chase instead, which is really nice. So next turn, doesn't really matter what we draw. We're in pretty good shape. What I usually like to do is go ahead and activate Immortal Phoenix Gearfried to get a negate on board. So you're going to banish your Living Fossil, make sure it's Living Fossil, not your Divine Sword. And then you go ahead and special summon that monster, or the Immortal Phoenix Gearfried. And then from here, to get your negate, since you have 2 warrior monsters in grave, you're going to banish those from your graveyard. And it's going to add Divine Sword Phoenix Blade back to hand. You're going to activate Phoenix Blade and target your Immortal Phoenix Gearfried. And now, since it has an equipped spell, it has a negate, which I think it's only a monster negate. It's still really good. Also, another thing, if you don't know what this card does, so when you're battling your opponent's monster, instead of, like, you would attack it, but then you activate its effect, and instead of dealing damage, it's going to take their monster and equip it to this as an equip spell, which then gives this card 500 additional attack. And then that's going to have the additional negate, which is really good. But from here, and the one thing I do like about this deck is even though it doesn't put out extremely powerful combos, you pretty much always have a play every turn because you're always bouncing back your best normal summon to your hand. But from this point, you can normal summon your Chiamaro, banish your S-Force Chase from your graveyard to activate its effect, add this back to hand, and you're going to special summon Gravitino, keep saying it wrong. And then Gravitino effect, you're going to search for your S-Force Chase. Ideally, what we would have is another Gravitino in hand, and not use the effect of S-Force Chase to banish itself, because we'd want to banish the Gravitino and then get it back so we can get more monsters on board. But that's how it plays out sometimes. So you're going to set your S-Force Chase the next turn. And then here is usually when I like to go into S-Force Justify. That's what I usually do, is you need 3 materials, and it has to include at least 1 S-Force monster. But I usually use these, leaving 1 Gravitino on field. The reason is, so the next turn I can still banish 2 cards. And then you're going to get your S-Force Justify on the field. And if you don't know what this card does, is basically, I'll read it to you because it's actually a really, really good card. You cannot summon or set monsters to a zone this card points to. And that just means you personally, your opponent still can. But there's no zones pointing down. So it's just like you couldn't like kaiju their monster and then put it in the zone that Justify points to. That's all it means. But it says quick effect, you can target one face-up effect monster your opponent controls, negates effects until the end of this turn. Then you can move that opponent's monster to their monster zone this card points to. You can only use that once per turn. So the cool thing about this is you get to negate a monster on the field, but then you get to move it to a zone this points to. And then when this card battles at the start of the damage step, if this card attacks, you can banish all monsters this card points to. So it is pretty cool being able to put this up. If they have any monsters that are already there, they're going to get banished. And then if they don't, you can move a monster there that you want to get banished as well. So just super powerful. And at this point too, if they try to negate that effect where you're going to be moving a monster, you have your gear free to negate that monster effect. Unless it's a spell or trap, then there's nothing you can really do. But and then the important thing is we also have Gravitino on field. So in the following turn, we can activate our S-Force Chase, banish anything in their extra deck, or banish anything that this card points to. Or not points to, but anything in front of this, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, it just has to be in the same column, so not just what it points to. But you can also move a monster if you want to in front of this for that effect, which is cool. There's like very cool little niche interactions. But that's really the majority of this deck. We'll go over the other combo that you can do, which is just your regular S-Force combo. And it's very similar. The only difference is you're not going to be able to get to your Mortal Phoenix gear free. Like you're either just going to have to draw that or, get to your Isolde on another turn. So that's why I really like starting off with the Neospace Connector. Really the problem is with Neospace Connector is you're opening yourself up to Ash, which is not always good. So it's kind of a risky play, or can be. But I don't think that the purpose of this deck is to go win nationals. It's, to have fun casually and to not spend a lot of money. And that being said, this deck is really high rarity for how cheap it is. So you get a lot of secret rares and ultra rares, just a lot of holo cards. There's really, if you look through, the only like archetypal commons is S-Force Showdown. I'm pretty sure. Of course, there are other S-Force cards that are not holo. They're just not very good, so I don't play them. I think I'm playing really with the ideal package of S-Force cards. But anyways, here's the other combo. And like I said, you basically need to have both of these cards in hand for your ideal combo. You could also have just any other S-Force name in hand, but unfortunately that's only going to end you on S-Force Gravitino plus Chase. You're only going to get one pop on your opponent's turn, which is not very good at all. So, but like I said, you have multiple ways to get to either one of these that you don't open up in your first hand. So chances are that you can get to these. But anyways, you start the same. You start with your Chiamara, activate its effect. You're going to, banish the Gravitino. This gets popped back to your hand. And then you special summon your Platina. And then Platina is going to special summon back your Gravitino. And it's important to note too, as well, just like I said earlier, since this is going to be your inboard of monsters, make sure that they're in the extra deck monster zones so that you can banish anything in there that they're going to put out regardless of which zone they put it in. Then you're going to search your S-Force Chase after Gravitino. And that's basically it, that simple combo. Here's one thing to note though. If you open up all three of these, your combo is going to change a little bit for the better. What you'll do is start out the same way with your Chiamara. You're going to banish your Gravitino. And then this is going to pop back to hand. You're going to special summon your S-Force Edge Razor instead. And I would actually not put this here. I'll put this in the middle here because they might try to clear one of these zones. I don't know why they would, but I just think it's probably better to put this in the middle. And then when it's special summon or normal summon, you can special summon an S-Force monster from your hand, which is going to be Platina. And then Platina effect, you're going to special summon Gravitino. And then Gravitino is going to add your S-Force Chase to hand. And like I said, in a combo like this, you could go into your S-Force Justify, but you're only going to get that one monster negate. Whereas I think that it's better to end on on these three, where you get 3 pops on their turn, and then potentially monsters on their side getting banished if you still have your Gravitino, or if you select monsters for targets with your S-Force Chase. But that's all there really is to this deck. It's just a kind of a grindy deck that can be super annoying to deal with. And it's just really cheap. I think it's like just a really fun deck. I would really urge you to go build one of these online and test play it, because even though it is cheap, it's not going to be the best deck in the room for sure. But it can be pretty decent, and it is definitely like a super fun deck to play. But like I said, it might not be for you, so I would definitely go try it out online first. Maybe like try different builds, see what works for you. And if you do like it, I think it's definitely worth the $120 to build it. But you don't want to waste $120 just because it is a budget deck and then not like the deck. So make sure you go try it out. But that's really all I have for the deck profile. Like I said, we will be doing another market watch tomorrow. So hopefully you can tune in. And then, like I said, let me know in the comment section what you think about maybe doing a live session like next week, like Wednesday at like 7:30 p.m. or 7:30 to 8:30 p.m., something like that, Eastern Standard Time. It's completely up to you. Oh, also I'll change the camera real quick, but I wanted to mention a few things briefly. One, I've noticed that whenever I upload videos, it only plays in 360p, and especially like if you're doing like a deck profile or collection showcasing, it really makes things look really blurry, even though like whenever I go watch the video after I film it, it looks really clear. But I guess the reason is that is YouTube started, they like any video that you uploads as first standard definition as 360p. And then once that video is viewable by everybody on YouTube as 360p, then it starts processing in a higher definition, which would be like, your 720p. So usually it can take like a few hours, or maybe even like 5 or 6 hours for the video to actually show up as 720p. Because I was noticing when I was watching the collection binder with everybody on the premiere, that it looked a little bit blurrier than it had looked when I watched the video after filming it. So I went and did some research and figured this out. But then when I came back and tried to, watch it briefly today, it had processed and it was available in 720p, and it looked so much better. So just keep that in mind. If I'm doing a video and you think it looks a little bit blurry, maybe just come back a few hours later and try watching it again when it's uploaded as 720p. And then I think, what was the other thing that I want to mention? Oh yeah, so I did see the 10 announcements with all the cool reprints like Droplets, Dragoon, Ash Blossom. I think it's going to be a super good set to invest in, but we'll talk about that tomorrow on the market watch. And then briefly, I just in case something happens before then, I would keep my eyes on like Verte and stuff, because with Dragoon getting reprinted, and then I imagine we'll also see Destroy Phoenix Enforcer reprinted in the Megatins. That's going to greatly increase the demand for the package of Verte and like DP or Dragoon, whatever people want to play. And so all of a sudden, people that couldn't afford DP and Dragoon are now going to have easy access to it, and all the interest is going to float back to Verte, which is going to skyrocket in price. So just make sure that you have your copy, at least personally, if that's a package that you want to play in the future. And I think that investing into it pretty heavily is a good idea. I do say this at your own risk, because if Verte does get hit, it's, obviously that's going to be a big loss investment wise. But with that being said, I don't know that it will be hit, because with them releasing, Dragoon reprint and the Megatins and, Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, $200, two $100 cards. There's going to be a lot of demand for that product, and it's going to sell really well. But if they ban Verte, that's going to basically kill the viability of those cards for the most part. I mean, you can still play 2 Fusion Destinies, and I guess the DP package is okay in that case, but it's really not nearly as viable if you don't have Verte. So I think Verte will hang around at least until the Megatins. As far as Scythe, who knows, but it doesn't look good for Scythe getting banned either, because it's getting printed in the structure deck. I guess my guess now would be that Artifact Dagda is going to go for sure. So I'm thinking about selling my Dagda ahead of time, but also Konami could be weird and they just want to sell the structure deck, which should sell itself anyways, but they might want to keep Dagda around for a little while. Who knows? But we'll talk more in depth about the Megatins tomorrow. But thanks for watching.